they're sort of like doggy paddling through the 10 episodes. I loved I think what we got to do with our dynamic was we would fight in a funny way, we would get on in a funny way, and then if it wasn't funny, you really felt the absence of it, and it was heartbreaking, it's sad, you just want those guys to get along. And they're both trying hard to pull the other one out of whatever mire they're in, and they're sort of struggling with that, and they both sort of end up getting covered in mud, and metaphorically. And it was all really fun, and I think quite true. I think with family, it's like trial and error. You keep trying until you can help someone out.
Yeah, and I think it's like a language that they have that's unto itself. And I have this with my daughter, I have this with my son, and they're different languages for both of them. But there is an understood dynamic that we just have, and it doesn't even need to be pointed to. It doesn't, and I credit the writers with folding that in, to like, you can feel the dynamic, that you can feel that sort of code that they have without it being spoken. And that was established really early on.
Yeah, I'm sure he would. I think sort of anyone would. I think Katie's probably a bit more concerned about her students and the sort of like, she's got these like young women who think highly of her, and she's beginning to sort of like carve this path for herself as a good teacher and and someone that people can admire in the school, and this feels like 10 steps backwards from all of that. I think that she would not want to have the disappointment that Greg might feel, but I think more than that, it might even be sort of pity or understanding that would make her feel like she'd failed in his eyes, because he sees her as somebody that's taking brave steps towards this breakup. And you never, as I'm close to my dad, and I think you just never want your dad to sort of worry about you in a way that feels slightly disappointed, even if they would never say they were disappointed.
We've talked about it. This is interesting. So and you can see if you notice these like small nuances. I think what's really hard for anybody, be it a young man or a young woman, is to kind of, especially when your parents are intentionally set up as bigger than life. Whether or not Steve has humility, his character is a best-selling author, and her mom is a bigger than life figure played by Connie Britton. And so, if you asked us who the core of the story, emotional core, is really about, the first season, we would say, yes, Steve, but also Charlie, of what it means to become a fully autonomous and independent woman. And we intentionally let people know at the beginning, tell that story. We're like, oh, we got to bottom them out, and so it's no surprise that she burns the house down and assaults her ex-husband and is at ground zero. We took great pains to say she was only here for a few months before she met the guy she ended up marrying, so she didn't even build a community. So watching her journey from person that relies on others, I think, to being kind of an autonomous and independent person will be one of the major arcs of the whole show.
I think in our dream scenario, 3 probably would be enough to tell this story. It's. Am I wrong about that?
No, one of the cool things about streaming nowadays, and we never got to do. We're dinosaurs. The goal when we used to pitch shows, and they'd go, "What's episode 100?" And you go, "Oh, that's the one where he forgets his anniversary." I don't fucking know what episode 100 is. And now, when we pitch shows, you pitch the beginning, middle, and end, and we know the beginning, middle, and end of this particular story. But it's so much fun. I'd do it forever and ever. Yeah.